The only people who don't want to disclose the truth are people with something to hide.
He is a frequent guest on this show. He is an advisor to this show. He is also on the cover of Where's Obama's Birth Certificate.com. You will see him standing next to me holding up a sheriff's kit after we presented it to Congressman Dent. And with that, I am going to bring on to the air Commander Charles Kerchner, retired. Commander, welcome to the show.
Glad to be here, Mike, and hello, Mickey, and I'm sorry I missed the other guest's first name.
Cheryl.
Cheryl. Hi, Cheryl.
Hi, how are you doing? Good to hear from you.
Yeah, I can talk to that CRS memo because that was outed because of my lawsuit against Obama and Congress that was written as a defense mechanism in secret. Tell the congressman what to say since they were named in my lawsuit as for various violations of the Constitution, but a senator's staffer leaked it to us, and that's how it got out. And then, of course, he published it in WND after we put it up on Mario Puzo's website. But anyway, I wanted to ask a question of Mickey. You mind, Mickey?
Oh, not at all. I'm so glad to connect with you. It's been a long time.
Yeah, you're very informed about what's going on in Hawaii, and I think you have a corrupt birth health department office. I think they've been selling birth certificates over the years and every kind of thing. But in reference to Obama's forged document there, I think originally his birth registration was falsified, say, by the grandmother just to get him citizenship. That's the only reason, because it's a valued commodity. But then I believe he was adopted, and that original registration, whatever it was sealed, and a new birth record was created under the name Barry Soetoro. And then when he decided to run for president, he amended it as an adult again. So I think it was amended multiple times. Do you agree with that kind of thinking?
I think that's really possible because considering everything that I do know, there's something in the record there. And what exactly it is, I don't know, but it's very possible what you say is exactly what it is.
Yeah, maybe he was listed in the record as Barry Soetoro until he decided, when he went to get a certification certificate, they're up pops that he's Barry Soetoro, and he has to get it amended to change his name back to Barack Obama, or this is just he creates narratives, and I was just creating sort of a counter-narrative, and I think that certification form, I got the short forms of certification form, was forged by somebody for him, because they had to get something out there. The Daily Cause came up with it first. They plugged a number in, which is out of sequence, as you know, and he stuck with it. So whatever record what I think corrupt health department is providing now doesn't quite coincide with reality. So they're having to keep the number they issued in the certification form because that's the number he stuck with, and the rest of the information is so they're kind of like they can't get a legitimate certificate anymore because it's been so many amendments and so much fudging and lying thing going on. He has to forge a long form.
Exactly.
Commander?
Yeah.
One of the things that I thought of really early on was with that delay in getting the thing filed, which was an abnormally long delay, that what I figured probably happened is now we don't know where he's born, but if he was born in Kenya, that, you think back in the 60s, you didn't just pick up the phone and start dialing, out of the state even to another state. I mean, it took time. You had to have an operator and, long-distance operator, and it took time to get that phone call made. And he was born actually at 7:24 p.m. Kenyan time.
That could be his birth date. That could be
the birth date in Kenya.
Yeah, I don't think they called back, Cheryl. I think that the mother went over there to give up the baby to be raised, and she couldn't. So she brought it back around August 4th. I think the August 4th date is the time she arrived back in Hawaii or say in Portland or wherever up there in Seattle rather, and told her mom then by phone up there that, oh my God, I brought the baby. You brought the baby back. You were supposed to leave it over there. You're supposed to go away as a teenage, pregnant girl and give up the baby to the natural parents over there and leave. But she couldn't do it. So I think she comes back, and the grandmother then says, oh my God, we got to get this child registered and get its citizenship. So I know how the system is in Hawaii. I'll just file a false affidavit that he was born here. It's one affidavit.
Absolutely.
Yeah, well, of course, the other thing I was thinking of, though, is that if by chance he was born there, and like I said, we don't know where he was born, but if by chance he was born there, the time here or in Honolulu would be 6:24 a.m. It's 13 hours difference.
Mm-hmm.
And so it'd be, he would be, the time in Hawaii would be earlier than when he was born in, in other words, it'd be 6:24 here in Hawaii a.m. and 7:24 p.m. in Kenya. And of course, if it's that late at night, then it took maybe until the next morning to get a phone call through, with a long distance operator, international operator, and that sort of thing. And people that aren't old enough don't realize he didn't just pick up the phone and make the call. It took hours, sometimes 8 hours maybe.
Isn't it conveniently interesting that the arrival customs declaration forms for the week of August 4th, 1961 are missing?
Right.
See, so
Yeah,
it all
they're
fits
missing.
the MO that he didn't, that the possibility is that he was brought back to Hawaii that week, that day.
Right, right.
And then they registered him as born there, and he really wasn't born there. And then they say, well, they planned this all because they knew he was going to be president someday. No, they did this just to get the new child citizenship, a prized commodity. It's sort of like the women in Mexico come across the border to have their baby in the USA. Well,
That's
in
right.
Hawaii, you can do the same thing with paper, right? Right, Mickey? You know better than I do about that.
Oh, yeah, that's right, yeah. And,
It's like
every kid
border.
has, every kid has
Can I
to
jump
have
in there for a
paper.
minute?
Yep.
Commander, you mentioned the customs form. That was found by Jerome Corsi, but
Yes, sir.
on the other hand, I have his assistant's phone number who's called me, who I have neglected to put on the air, procrastinated actually, who actually went with Dr. Corsi to search the archives. He is the actual person that flipped through the papers and found the microfilm. Conveniently, only for that week over a 10-year period is missing. And I'm going to bring him on the air someday, and we're going to hear his story.
Right.
I'm sorry, Mickey. Go right ahead.
But
I just wanted to mention
all these problems give us the motive, the MO for why he has to steal a Social Security number. Because he was living his life as a foreigner in the USA until he decided to run for president. Then all of a sudden he wants to be a U.S. citizen. You know what I mean? A natural-born citizen. But,
Well, something, too, that I was thinking about is that, his purported mother, Stanley Ann Dunham, removed him from her American passport.
Yep.
And as far as I know, I have not seen any evidence. Of course, I'm not doing the criminal investigation, but I've seen no evidence and heard of no evidence that would suggest that he ever actually got put on to applied for his own passport back then.
Well, he was Soybarco, right? Soybarco or something like that?
Soybarca, yes, Soybarca.
Yeah.
And interestingly, one of the things that Ted Cruz brought up is that, people say, oh, this thing about the citizenship, whether he's citizen or not is silly. Of course he's a citizen. There's no question he's a citizen. But he's never said he's a natural-born citizen, to my knowledge. But the thing about it is
well,
that...
I got to correct you on that. He signed an affidavit in Arizona saying he was a natural-born citizen in the primary of the 2007 primary, run-up to the 2008 primaries.
You're talking about Ted Cruz or
No, I'm sorry, Obama.
Yeah, I was talking about Ted Cruz.
I'm
Cruz,
sorry.
one of the points he made in a interview with Candy Crowley, and I thought it was brilliant. She was trying to entrap him, and he entrapped her instead. But she was talking about whether he might be a president of Canada or whatever it is, the prime minister of Canada or the president of here, and that's when he said, well, citizenship stuff is silly and all that. And but he said he has never made an affirmative declaration claiming any citizenship besides American citizenship. Now, that was a very important way, the way he referred to it. I don't remember the exact way, but that was the gist of it. An
But that
affirmative
doesn't change the
declaration.
facts of his birth. He still was born Canadian and Cuban.
Well, no, he's born in Canada, but his
Yeah,
father was
so he's
Cuban.
got jus soli by place of birth. He's got Cuban citizenship from his father, which was a Cuban citizen, and he's
Right.
also American citizenship by his mother. So he's not a natural-born citizen. Ted Cruz is a citizen,
Right.
but not a natural-born citizen. And that
Yeah,
natural-born
correct.
citizen clause, to me, as a military person, is very important because it goes to national security. That's why it was put in the first place by John Jay. And do you
Right,
know
yeah,
that
exactly.
Hamilton proposed to the, via a letter to the convention, that the citizenship clause for president simply be born a citizen, and they rejected that and selected natural-born citizen. So they knew the difference between a born a citizen and a
That's
natural-born
because
citizen.
Hamilton had a problem.
Yeah, he did. He was born in the Caribbean somewhere, I think. But he was
He was
still.
not born
See,
here.
he didn't. They didn't. You see, he was grandfathered by. He was a citizen at the time of the revolution, so he was grandfathered. It wasn't for him.
Right.
He just wanted to have a less stringent clause for
Well, for
possible
people
other
that were there,
people.
they couldn't possibly be natural-born citizens if they're born
Right.
prior to the birth of the country.
But see,
basically.
I'm saying Hamilton suggested for future presidents that they merely had to be born a citizen,
Right. Right.
and they rejected that and went with Jay's natural-born citizen because it goes to
Right.
sole allegiance at birth, no dual loyalty, no dual citizenship, because you're going to be commander-in-chief of the military. That's why, as much as Ted Cruz is a great conservative, he just should forget about running for president, and I'm disappointed that he won't speak out about it, that he's just not eligible.
Well, I think he's actually doing the same thing with the entire public and with the entire media as he did with Candy Crowley, because, like I say, he got her basically to say things such that he could say, well, I've always been looked at myself as an American, and I've never made, as an adult, I've never made a declaration, affirmative declaration of being anything besides American. Well, the thing is that, number one, when Obama, or whatever his name was removed from that passport, and when the purported mother supposedly got divorced from Lolo Soetoro, at that time, the papers that you can find, they say that Lolo Soetoro and Stanley Andum had two children. One was a minor, Maya, and the other was a male over the age, 18 or over. And so his name at that point was Soetoro still. And another thing also, if you recall, Obama, or whatever his name is, always said, well, I'm a citizen of the world. Well, that's a declaration as an adult of, being not just a citizen of America, but a citizen of multiple countries. And there's another place somewhere, I can't recall what the timing was. Let me think. Hold on for a second. Well, for one thing, if he declared that he was an Indonesian, we haven't seen that, but if he's declared he's an Indonesian on those financial aid applications or school
Well, I think he was
applications,
living his life as an Indonesian citizen. That's why he did not register for the draft. That's why he had a forged draft card. See, he was living as a foreigner in the USA. He didn't worry about what was in the birth records in Hawaii until he decided to run for president. And then I believe he finds out he's registered in Hawaii still as Barry Soetoro because it was amended. The original falsified born in Hawaii registration by the grandmother being falsified affidavit. They amended that when he got adopted, and then he was living his life as Barry Soetoro, and he was going Occidental as Barry Soetoro, an Indonesian citizen. And then all of a sudden he gets into national politics. He needs his Social Security numbers. He got to borrow dead persons. And then he wants to run for president. Now he needs the questions are being asked. He needs a birth certificate. He finds out, I'm still Barry Soetoro. That's why he lost his law license. That's why he lost his law license properly.
That's right. That's right.
See, so it all fits. And I'm just wondering if Mickey agreed with all that type of scenario, and I think she does. And that's why I called.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I do. And
it was amended many times. His birth certificate was probably amended after he decided to run for president, quietly, secretly.
Right. And there's only one person that has ever said that they've seen his birth certificate, and that is Chiyomi Fukino. Now, she was the Department of Health registrar. I don't remember her exact title, but she is the only one that ever said she saw it. And then the governor at the time, Linda Lingle, says that, yes, he has a Hawaiian birth certificate. And she was going by what Chiyomi Fukino told her. And yet everybody, like Bill O'Reilly, is saying, you know, if it's good enough for the governor of Hawaii, it's good enough for me, where she never saw it. She was just going by Chiyomi Fukino. And we know Chiyomi Fukino is a liar because, she was just coming out and saying, things that, I've seen it, and yes, he is a natural-born citizen because he was born in Kapiolani Hospital, where she doesn't have any right to state that he's a natural-born citizen. And so she's part of the whole thing. I just, if you want to point to one person and say, you break her, and you get everything out of her, that is the one person. And
is she the one that news crew went over there and spoke to, and they got her on tape? Was that her?
Yeah, that's her.
A short lady. She's
right. That was the former director of health from Hawaii, and that was CNN, I believe, right after the release of the birth certificate, sometime like the last week of April or so.
Right. So she's the only one that has ever, said that. She's the spokesperson for that and everything. And then because the dust-up continued, and then they were so angry that people were calling in there, and they wanted to put a stop to it, people asking questions about what's going on in the health department, and let's get a copy of a long form birth certificate. And all of a sudden they make the rule. It wasn't a law, but they made a rule that they would no longer be giving out the long form birth certificate, that you had to have the printed out version of the short form.
And they actually modified the form. They changed the form to change the name of a certification form to a certificate to further confuse things. Hey, maybe there's another question. Where did the Queens Hospital narrative start? Was that like Obama himself? He had his bio said he was born in Kenya and raised in Indonesia, and then he denies that. Then the OBOTs deny that he ever was a source of that. The publisher made an error. But there was originally he was born in Queens. It was on Wiki. It was everywhere. But then Queens sort of denied that, and then all of a sudden had to be Kapiolani. Do you know if he ever said himself anywhere that he was born in Queens? I've seen it.
It was a publicist that put that in there, and from what I understand, the sister or half-sister Maya, and she was born in Indonesia, and when she moved back to Hawaii, or moved to Hawaii, she got a certification form, and so that the one that Obama came out with was looked at, exactly like the one that she had, except it shows where she was born. But now it was the publicist and Maya that he was born in Queens.
What publicist of what? What document was it in? I've been trying to find the original source for that.
It was Maya. It was Maya that made the claim that he was born in Queens, as she was being, interviewed about her half-brother. That she said that, oh yes, he was born in Queens. So
I thought she's the one that changed it to Kapiolani, and that's what started the dispute.
No, what happened was she being a newcomer or a Malahini to Hawaii, didn't understand that Queens Hospital is like a heart hospital, and that the maternity hospital is Kapiolani. That's where the babies are born. And so then they had to, better get rid of the Queens thing, because anybody local would saw that and says, what? He couldn't have been born in Queens.
So she said it, but it was also some publicist was saying it. I know it was in Wiki. It was everywhere. It was on Snoops. It was everywhere as Queens. And all of a sudden, bang, had to be changed to Kapiolani.
Yeah. And they realized that can easily be debunked, and they thought, oh, gosh, we better get rid of that.
Sure, they changed the narrative to accommodate new facts.
Yeah.
Let me ask you all
exactly.
something, see if you all have heard this. Sometime back, I had, somebody had said that if you look up Hawaii or Huawei, which if you say it quickly, it sounds like Hawaii, it's Huawei, Huawei, Kenya. And I had looked it up on maps.google.com, and you used to be able to find, it would go right to a southwest suburb of Nairobi, Kenya. And actually, there's a street, if you look up a word, a street name called Longonot Road, Longonot, I think it was, Longonot Road. There is a Crown Plaza Hotel there, and at the top curve, it kind of goes up and then to the right, and at the top outside portion of that curve, there's a company called Huawei Technologies, Huawei Technologies. And I actually talked to somebody that sold me my DirecTV who was from Nairobi and was very familiar with that, and I actually got him on audio, recorded it. He let me record his, our conversation. And we were discussing that, and he said, well, the place is kind of like a Staples and that sort of stuff. He was very familiar with it. He was surprised that I knew as much about it as I did. But anyway, that location is about, a couple of blocks away from the Kenyatta National Hospital. And, one of the narratives that I had heard some time back was that, Stanley Ann was at the beach in Mombasa and started to go into the hospital there in Mombasa and then had to go into the hospital in Nairobi. And so I'm thinking, since that whole neighborhood used to be called, you used to be able to look up, Hawaii or Huawei, Kenya, I'm thinking, well, he could very well have been born in Hawaii, but also been born in Kenya.
Well,
But he was
new
not born in
hospital.
Kapiolani. He was not born in Kapiolani, so therefore he's a liar, and the birth certificate is fraud.
Some people think he was born in Canada, but he wasn't born in Hawaii, that's for sure.
That's
Well,
right.
what I'm saying, though, is he could very well have been born in that neighborhood, which is called Hawaii, or if you pronounce it a little differently, Hawaii. So you could say, well, I was born in Hawaii.
His grandmother
saying?
said twice, once in that phone interview, which, of course, the other side disputes the translation, that he was born in Nairobi. She was there, and he was born.
Well, that is Hawaii, but see what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Hawaii,
okay. And then
Kenya
the other
is
time,
Nairobi.
when
It's
she
a
was
suburb.
given an award by the government, for her work with foundlings and things, she said that even the President of the United States has passed through my hands. And in a tribal statement, passed through your hands, that they had a custom where the baby is handed to the oldest maternal ancestor. As soon as the baby was born, the baby was handed to her hands. So the baby passed through her hands. She was actually referring, again, that she was there and held him as he was born.
Mm-hmm.
So I think she's twice confirmed. Now, I have a collection of how many statements that people said he was born there, including the ambassador from Kenya, government officials. It's actually in the minutes. It's actually in the minutes of the Parliament sessions.
Right.
And
Yeah.
So the thing is, while we can't prove he was born in Hawaii, there's so much circumstantial evidence. Even his own narrative in that bio for his book said he was born in Kenya.
He was the original birther, so to speak.
Sure he is.
Because he's the one that kept claiming he was born in Kenya.
Exactly.
Oh,
So anyway, that's
hey,
all this
Commander,
discussion proves the need for the forged birth certificate. This is why it's forged, because he's lived a life of lies all his life. He has
The only people who don't want to disclose the truth are people with something to hide.